Welcome, intuitive souls. Today's reading is all about learning to trust your inner voice, that quiet nudge, that gut feeling, that whisper you sometimes doubt, but always feel. In this two-group tarot reading, you'll choose the message that's meant for you and discover how your intuition is trying to guide you right now. Pick the group you feel drawn to. Try not to overthink it. Your intuition is already working. But remember, what came through today was lovingly revealed by compassionate deities, your spirit guide, the angels, and the universe, all working together to offer you insight and clarity. Please remember, this reading is for entertainment purposes only. Life is always changing, and your path is shaped by your choices, actions, and the intentions you set. Nothing is set in stone, and your free will is your greatest power. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and above all, stay kind to yourself. When you chose Group 1, you stepped into a message that isn't trying to flatter you, sugarcoat anything, or give you vague spiritual poetry. This is a message that wants to talk to you like a real person. It wants to sit you down, look you in the eye, and say, "You've been through enough. It's time to trust yourself again." And the cards you pulled don't just hint at that. They spell it out clearly. They show the mental exhaustion, the self-doubt, the pressure, the burnout, the healing, and the slow but steady shift into clarity. They show someone who has been carrying far too much for far too long, someone who has been trying to make decisions while running on empty, someone who has been trying to hear their intuition through layers of fear, noise, and old wounds. But they also show someone who is ready to step into a new chapter, where their inner voice becomes their compass again. Let's start with the Nine of Swords upright, because this card is the doorway into everything else. This is the card of overthinking, anxiety, sleepless nights, and mental spirals. It's the card of lying awake replaying conversations, worrying about outcomes, imagining worst-case scenarios, or feeling like you're constantly one step away from something going wrong. And the thing about the Nine of Swords is that it doesn't show real danger. It shows imagined danger. It shows fear that has been fed by stress, pressure, or past experiences. It shows the mind trying to protect you by preparing for every possible negative outcome. And when you're in that state, trusting your intuition becomes incredibly difficult. Not because your intuition disappears, but because anxiety becomes louder than everything else. Anxiety is noisy. It's dramatic. It's urgent. It demands your attention. Intuition is quiet. It's steady. It's subtle. It doesn't fight for space. So when your mind is full of fear, your intuition gets drowned out. And that's exactly what the Nine of Swords is showing. You haven't lost your intuition. You've just been too overwhelmed to hear it clearly. You've been trying to make decisions from a place of fear instead of a place of clarity. You've been trying to navigate life while carrying mental weight that no one else can see. And the first step in trusting your intuition again is acknowledging that your mind has been in survival mode. You can't hear your inner voice clearly when your nervous system is constantly bracing for impact. Then we move into the Emperor reversed, and this is where things get even more real. The Emperor reversed is about losing your sense of inner authority. It's about feeling like you can't trust yourself, like you need someone else to tell you what to do, like you're afraid of making the wrong choice. It's the energy of second-guessing yourself, doubting your decisions, or feeling like you're not in control of your own life. Sometimes this card shows up when you've been living under someone else's expectations. Maybe you've been trying to please people. Maybe you've been trying to avoid conflict. Maybe you've been trying to live up to a standard that wasn't yours to begin with. Or maybe you've been so afraid of messing up that you've stopped taking action altogether. The Emperor reversed can also point to experiences that made you question your judgment. Maybe someone criticized your choices. Maybe someone dismissed your feelings. Maybe someone made you feel like your instincts weren't valid. And over time, that kind of conditioning chips away at your confidence. It makes you hesitate. It makes you look outside yourself for answers. It makes you believe that other people know better than you. But the truth is, no one knows your life better than you do. No one knows your inner world better than you do. No one feels what you feel. No one sees what you see. And the Emperor reversed is here to remind you that you've given away too much of your power. You've let other voices become louder than your own. And it's time to take that power back. Then we have the Queen of Wands reversed, and this card adds another layer to the story. Upright, the Queen of Wands is confident, intuitive, expressive, and self-assured.
She knows who she is.
She trusts her instincts. She doesn't shrink herself. But reversed, she becomes hesitant, insecure, or disconnected from her fire. This card often appears when someone has dimmed their own light because they were afraid of being judged or misunderstood. It can also show burnout, the kind of burnout that makes you feel like your spark has gone out, like you don't recognize yourself anymore, like you're running on fumes. When the Queen of Wands reversed appears with the Emperor reversed, it paints a picture of someone who has been suppressing their natural instincts for a long time. Someone who has been trying to be what others expect instead of who they truly are. Someone who has been afraid to trust their own voice because they've been told, directly or indirectly, that their voice doesn't matter. But the Queen of Wands reversed also shows that your intuition is tied to your confidence. When you don't trust yourself, your intuition feels distant. When you reconnect with your confidence, your intuition becomes clearer. And right now, you're in the process of rebuilding that confidence from the ground up. Then we reach the Ten of Swords reversed, and this is where the energy begins to shift. Upright, the Ten of Swords is the card of endings, collapse, or hitting rock bottom. But reversed, it's the beginning of recovery. It's the moment when the worst is behind you. It's the moment when you start to get back up. It's the moment when you realize that the pain you've been carrying is no longer controlling you. This card reversed is a powerful sign of healing. It shows that you're releasing old wounds, old fears, old patterns, and old narratives that have been keeping you stuck. It shows that you're ready to move forward, even if you're still a little shaky. The Ten of Swords reversed also tells you that the version of you who doubted yourself, who second-guessed everything, who felt powerless or overwhelmed, is fading. You're not that person anymore. You're stepping into a new chapter where your intuition is becoming stronger. But trusting your intuition isn't something that happens instantly. It's something you rebuild slowly, like a muscle. And the Ten of Swords reverse shows that you're already doing that work, even if you don't realize it yet. Then we have the Six of Swords upright, which is one of the most important cards in this reading. This card is the journey out of chaos and into clarity. It's the transition from mental turbulence to mental peace. It's the moment when you decide to leave behind the thoughts, situations, or environments that have been draining you. It's the moment when you choose healing over suffering. The Six of Swords is not a card of instant transformation. It's a card of gradual movement. It's the slow, steady process of moving toward a calmer, more intuitive version of yourself. This card also shows that trusting your intuition will become easier as you distance yourself from the things that cloud your mind. That might mean stepping away from certain people, habits, or situations. It might mean creating more space for rest, reflection, or solitude. It might mean letting go of the need to have everything figured out. The Six of Swords reminds you that intuition thrives in calm waters. When your mind is calmer, your inner voice becomes clearer. When you stop fighting yourself, your intuition rises naturally. Finally, we have the Four of Swords reversed, which ties everything together. Upright, this card is about rest, retreat, and recovery. But reversed, it shows restlessness, burnout, or the feeling that you've been forced to keep going even when you desperately needed a break. It can also show that you've been avoiding stillness because stillness brings up emotions or thoughts you weren't ready to face. But now, reversed, it's telling you that you're ready to re-enter the world with a new perspective. You're ready to wake up from the mental exhaustion you've been living in. You're ready to reconnect with your intuition because you're no longer running from yourself. You're learning to recognize the difference between the voice that protects you and the voice that guides you. And that's one of the most important skills you'll ever develop, because intuition isn't about predicting the future or magically knowing the right answer. It's about learning to trust the signals your mind, body, and energy are already giving you. It's about learning to trust yourself again after a long period of doubt, pressure, or emotional exhaustion. And the cards you pulled show that you're already moving in that direction, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. One of the biggest challenges you've faced is that your intuition has been competing with fear. When you've been through stress, disappointment, or situations where you felt powerless, your mind becomes hypervigilant. It tries to protect you by imagining every possible negative outcome. It tries to keep you safe by preparing for the worst. And while that instinct comes from a place of care, it also creates a lot of noise. It makes it hard to hear your inner voice. It makes it hard to trust yourself. It makes it hard to make decisions without second-guessing everything. That's why the Nine of Swords upright is such an important part of your story. It shows that your mind has been working overtime. It shows that you've been carrying stress that no one else can see. It shows that you've been trying to navigate life while dealing with internal pressure that has drained your energy. But it also shows that you're aware of this. You're not in denial. You're not ignoring your mental state. You're not pretending everything is fine. You're acknowledging the weight you've been carrying, and that awareness is the first step toward change. The Emperor reversed shows that this mental pressure has affected your sense of authority. It's made you question your judgment. It's made you doubt your decisions. It's made you feel like you need someone else to tell you what to do. And that's not because you're weak or incapable. It's because you've been conditioned to believe that your inner voice isn't enough. Maybe you grew up in an environment where your feelings were dismissed. Maybe you were surrounded by people who acted like they knew better than you. Maybe you were criticized for following your instincts. Maybe you were taught to prioritize logic over intuition. Whatever the reason, the Emperor reversed shows that you've internalized the belief that your voice isn't the final authority in your life. But that belief is breaking down. You're starting to question the idea that other people know better than you. You're starting to realize that you've been giving away your power. You're starting to see that you've been living according to expectations that were never yours. And that's where the Queen of Wands reversed comes in. This card shows that your confidence has been dimmed, not because you lack confidence, but because you've been suppressing parts of yourself to fit into situations that didn't support your natural strengths. You've been holding back your fire. You've been shrinking your voice. You've been trying to be palatable, agreeable, or safe. And that has disconnected you from your intuition, because intuition thrives when you're being honest with yourself. The Queen of Wands reversed is not telling you that your fire is gone. It's telling you that your fire has been waiting for you to stop apologizing for it. It's telling you that your intuition is tied to your authenticity. When you're pretending, your intuition gets blurry. When you're honest, your intuition becomes sharp. When you're hiding, your intuition gets quiet. When you're expressive, your intuition gets loud. And right now, you're in the process of reconnecting with the version of you who doesn't dim themselves to make others comfortable. The Ten of Swords reverse shows that you're healing from the experiences that made you doubt yourself. You're releasing the old stories that told you you weren't capable. You're letting go of the pain that made you question your instincts. You're stepping out of the identity of someone who is overwhelmed and stepping into the identity of someone who is recovering, rebuilding, and rising. This card reversed is one of the strongest signs of resilience. It shows that you're not defined by what happened to you. You're defined by how you rise from it. And you are rising. The Six of Swords upright shows that this healing is not theoretical. It's happening in real time. You're moving away from the mental chaos that once consumed you. You're distancing yourself from the environments, people, or habits that drained your energy. You're choosing clarity over confusion. You're choosing peace over panic. You're choosing growth over stagnation. And even if the progress feels slow, it's progress. The Six of Swords is the card of quiet transformation. It's the card of subtle shifts that lead to major breakthroughs. It's the card of moving forward even when you don't have all the answers. And the Four of Swords reversed shows that you're ready to re-engage with your intuition after a long period of mental exhaustion. You're waking up from survival mode. You're starting to think clearly again. You're starting to feel again. You're starting to reconnect with your inner voice. You're starting to trust yourself in small ways, and those small ways will grow into bigger ways. This card reversed is the moment when you stop shutting down and start showing up. It's the moment when you stop avoiding your inner world and start listening to it. It's the moment when you stop running from your intuition and start embracing it. So how do you actually trust your intuition again in a practical, grounded way? The first step is to stop expecting intuition to feel dramatic. Intuition is not always a lightning bolt. It's not always a sudden knowing. It's not always a strong feeling. Sometimes it's incredibly subtle. Sometimes it's a quiet discomfort. Sometimes it's a gentle pull. Sometimes it's a sense of ease. Sometimes it's a moment of clarity that lasts only a second. And if you're waiting for intuition to feel big, you'll miss the small signals that are already guiding you. The second step is to recognize that intuition often contradicts fear. Fear is loud. Intuition is quiet. Fear is urgent. Intuition is patient. Fear is chaotic. Intuition is steady. Fear wants to protect you. Intuition wants to guide you. And right now, you're learning to tell the difference. You're learning to recognize when your mind is spiraling versus when your intuition is speaking. You're learning to separate old wounds from present truth. You're learning to trust the quiet voice inside you instead of the loud voice of anxiety. The third step is to rebuild your inner authority. The Emperor reversed shows that you've been looking outside yourself for answers. But intuition grows when you start looking within. It grows when you start asking yourself what feels right instead of what looks right. It grows when you start making decisions based on your inner truth instead of external expectations. It grows when you start believing that your instincts are valid. And that belief doesn't come from perfection. It comes from practice. It comes from choosing to trust yourself even when you're unsure. It comes from taking small risks. It comes from listening to your body. It comes from paying attention to your reactions. It comes from noticing what drains you and what energizes you. The fourth step is to reconnect with your fire. The Queen of Wands reversed shows that your intuition is tied to your confidence. When you feel small, your intuition feels small. When you feel powerful, your intuition feels powerful. And you don't have to wait for confidence to magically appear. Confidence grows when you start acting like your voice matters. Confidence grows when you stop apologizing for your feelings. Confidence grows when you express yourself honestly. Confidence grows when you stop shrinking. Confidence grows when you stop dimming your light. And as your confidence grows, your intuition becomes clearer. The fifth step is to allow yourself to heal. The Ten of Swords reverse shows that you're releasing old pain, but healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll feel unsure. Some days you'll trust yourself easily. Some days you'll doubt everything. That's normal. Healing doesn't require perfection. It requires patience. It requires compassion. It requires honesty. And as you heal, your intuition becomes easier to hear because it's no longer competing with old wounds. The sixth step is to create space for clarity. The Six of Swords shows that intuition thrives in calm environments. When your mind is constantly overstimulated, your intuition gets drowned out. When you slow down, your intuition rises. When you create space for reflection, your intuition speaks. When you stop forcing answers, your intuition reveals them. And you don't need hours of meditation to do this. Sometimes clarity comes from a 5-minute pause. Sometimes it comes from a quiet moment. Sometimes it comes from stepping away from a situation. Sometimes it comes from breathing. Sometimes it comes from silence. The 7th step is to listen to your body. The 4 of Swords reversed shows that your intuition speaks through your physical sensations. When something is wrong, your body tightens. When something is right, your body relaxes. When something is aligned, you feel grounded. When something is misaligned, you feel drained. Your body is one of the most reliable intuitive tools you have. And the more you pay attention to it, the easier it becomes to trust your intuition. You're not learning intuition from scratch. You're remembering it. You're reconnecting with it. You're rebuilding your relationship with it. And the cards show that you're already doing the work. You're already shifting. You're already healing. You're already moving toward clarity. You're already stepping into a version of yourself who trusts their inner voice. One of the most important things to understand is that intuition doesn't always feel comfortable. Sometimes intuition tells you something you don't want to hear. Sometimes it nudges you away from something familiar. Sometimes it pushes you towards something uncertain. Sometimes it asks you to let go of something you've been holding onto for too long. And when you're used to relying on logic or fear, intuition can feel unsettling. It can feel like stepping into the unknown. It can feel like taking a risk. But intuition isn't about comfort. It's about truth. It's about alignment. It's about choosing what's right for you even when it's not easy. And that's where your healing becomes so important. The 10 of Swords reverse shows that you're releasing the pain that once made you afraid of your own instincts. You're letting go of the experiences that taught you to doubt yourself. You're shedding the layers of fear that kept you from trusting your inner voice. And as you heal, your intuition becomes easier to recognize because it's no longer competing with old wounds. You're not filtering everything through past hurt anymore. You're seeing things more clearly. You're feeling things more honestly. You're responding to life from a place of awareness instead of fear. The 6 of Swords upright reinforces this shift. It shows that you're moving into a calmer mental space, even if it's happening slowly. You're not reacting the way you used to. You're not spiraling the way you used to. You're not letting fear dictate your choices the way it once did. You're choosing clarity. You're choosing peace. You're choosing growth. And that choice is strengthening your intuition because intuition thrives when your mind is not constantly in survival mode. When you're calmer, you can hear yourself. When you're calmer, you can feel what's right. When you're calmer, you can sense the difference between fear and truth. The 4 of Swords reverse shows that you're waking up from a long period of mental exhaustion. You've been running on empty for a long time, and that made it hard to trust anything, including yourself. But now, you're coming back to life. You're thinking more clearly. You're feeling more present. You're reconnecting with your inner world. And that reconnection is what allows your intuition to come forward. You're no longer shutting down. You're no longer avoiding your feelings. You're no longer numbing yourself. You're ready to listen again. And listening is the foundation of intuition. Not listening to fear. Not listening to pressure. Not listening to other people's expectations. Listening to yourself. Listening to your body. Listening to the quiet signals that tell you when something is right or wrong. Listening to the subtle shifts in your energy. Listening to the part of you that knows the truth even when your mind tries to argue with it. One of the most practical ways to strengthen your intuition is to start paying attention to your first reaction to things. Not the reaction that comes after you overthink. Not the reaction that comes after you talk yourself out of it. The very first reaction. The immediate feeling. The instinctive response. That's often your intuition speaking before fear has a chance to interfere. And the more you pay attention to that first reaction, the more you'll start to recognize its voice. Another practical way to strengthen your intuition is to notice what drains you versus what energizes you. Intuition often speaks through your energy levels. When something is aligned, you feel lighter. When something is misaligned, you feel heavier. When something is right for you, you feel a sense of ease. When something is wrong for you, you feel tension. Your body reacts before your mind does. And the more you pay attention to those reactions, the easier it becomes to trust your intuition. You can also strengthen your intuition by giving yourself permission to make mistakes. One of the biggest reasons people don't trust their intuition is because they're afraid of being wrong. They're afraid of making the wrong choice. They're afraid of disappointing themselves or others. But intuition isn't about perfection. It's about connection. It's about learning to trust yourself even when you don't have all the answers. It's about being willing to take small risks. It's about being willing to follow your inner voice even when it doesn't make logical sense. And the more you practice, the more confident you become. The Emperor reversed shows that you're rebuilding your inner authority. You're learning to trust your own judgment. You're learning to make decisions based on what feels right to you instead of what others expect. You're learning to stand in your own power. And that process takes time. It takes patience. It takes courage. But you're doing it. You're already doing it. Every time you choose what feels right instead of what feels safe, you strengthen your intuition. Every time you listen to your inner voice instead of external noise, you strengthen your intuition. Every time you honor your truth, you strengthen your intuition. The Queen of Wands reversed shows that your intuition is tied to your confidence. When you feel small, your intuition feels small. When you feel powerful, your intuition feels powerful. And you're in the process of reclaiming that power. You're rediscovering your fire. You're reconnecting with your passion. You're remembering who you are when you're not dimming yourself. And as you reconnect with that version of yourself, your intuition becomes louder and clearer because intuition thrives in authenticity. When you're being true to yourself, your inner voice becomes unmistakable. The Nine of Swords upright shows that you've been dealing with fear, but fear is not your identity. Fear is a response. Fear is a habit. Fear is a pattern.
And patterns can be changed.
You're not stuck in fear. You're moving through it. You're learning from it. You're rising above it. And the more you rise, the more your intuition becomes the dominant voice instead of the background whisper. The Ten of Swords reversed shows that you're healing from the experiences that once silenced your intuition. You're letting go of the pain that made you doubt yourself. You're releasing the memories that made you question your instincts. You're stepping into a new chapter where your intuition is no longer overshadowed by old wounds. You're becoming someone who trusts themselves because they've earned that trust through resilience, awareness, and growth. The Six of Swords upright shows that you're moving into a calmer, clearer mental space where intuition can thrive. You're leaving behind the chaos that once clouded your judgment. You're choosing peace. You're choosing clarity. You're choosing yourself. And that choice is opening the door to intuitive clarity. The Four of Swords reverse shows that you're ready. You're ready to listen. You're ready to trust. You're ready to move forward. You're ready to step into a version of yourself who doesn't second-guess everything. You're ready to live from your inner truth instead of your inner fear. And that's the real message of this reading. You're not being asked to become someone new. You're being asked to return to yourself. You're being asked to trust the voice that has always been there. You're being asked to stop abandoning yourself. You're being asked to stop doubting yourself. You're being asked to stop giving your power away. You're being asked to step into your own authority. You're being asked to trust your intuition because your intuition has never stopped guiding you. You're being asked to trust your intuition because your intuition has been trying to guide you toward a life that feels more aligned, more peaceful, and more authentic than anything you've experienced in a long time. And even if you don't feel fully confident yet, the cards show that you're already moving in that direction. You're already making choices that honor your inner truth. You're already stepping away from situations that drain you. You're already questioning the beliefs that once held you back. You're already becoming someone who listens to themselves instead of silencing themselves. And that's the real shift happening in your life right now. You're not just healing. You're reclaiming yourself. You're reclaiming your voice. You're reclaiming your instincts. You're reclaiming your power. You're reclaiming the parts of you that were pushed down ignored, or dismissed. You're reclaiming the version of you who knows what they want, who knows what feels right, who knows when something is off, who knows when something is aligned. You're reclaiming the version of you who doesn't need permission to trust themselves. The Emperor reverse shows that you've spent a long time living under external authority. Maybe you were taught to be responsible, logical, or practical to the point where you stopped listening to your feelings. Maybe you were surrounded by people who acted like they knew better than you. Maybe you were criticized for following your instincts. Maybe you were told that your emotions were too much or not enough. Maybe you were made to feel like your inner world wasn't valid. And over time, that conditioning made you doubt yourself. It made you question your judgment. It made you feel like you needed someone else to confirm your decisions. But you're not that person anymore. You're not someone who needs external validation to know what's right for you. You're not someone who needs permission to trust themselves. You're not someone who needs to justify their intuition. You're someone who is learning to stand in their own authority. You're someone who is learning to make decisions based on what feels true instead of what feels safe. You're someone who is learning to trust their instincts even when they can't explain them. You're someone who is learning to lead their life from the inside out. And that's where the Queen of Wands reversed becomes so important. This card shows that your intuition is tied to your confidence, your self-expression, and your authenticity. When you're dimming yourself, your intuition feels dim. When you're shrinking yourself, your intuition feels small. When you're hiding your truth, your intuition feels distant. But when you reconnect with your fire, your intuition becomes unmistakable. When you allow yourself to be bold, your intuition becomes louder. When you express yourself honestly, your intuition becomes clearer. When you stop apologizing for who you are, your intuition becomes powerful. And you're already moving in that direction. You're already reconnecting with your fire. You're already rediscovering your voice. You're already remembering who you are when you're not trying to fit into someone else's expectations. You're already stepping into a version of yourself who doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. And as you do that, your intuition becomes easier to trust because it feels like it belongs to you again. The Nine of Swords upright shows that fear has been loud, but fear is not the truth. Fear is a reaction. Fear is a habit. Fear is a pattern created by past experiences. But intuition is deeper than fear. Intuition is older than fear. Intuition existed before fear ever entered your life. Intuition is the part of you that knows who you are beneath the anxiety. Intuition is the part of you that knows what's right even when your mind is overwhelmed. Intuition is the part of you that remains steady even when everything else feels uncertain. And the Ten of Swords reverse shows that you're releasing the pain that once made fear feel louder than intuition. You're letting go of the experiences that taught you to doubt yourself. You're healing the wounds that made you question your instincts. You're stepping out of the identity of someone who is overwhelmed and stepping into the identity of someone who is rising. You're becoming someone who trusts themselves because they've earned that trust through resilience, awareness, and growth. The Six of Swords upright shows that you're moving into a calmer mental space where intuition can thrive. You're leaving behind the chaos that once clouded your judgment. You're choosing clarity. You're choosing peace. You're choosing yourself. And that choice is opening the door to intuitive clarity. You're not forcing answers anymore. You're allowing them. You're not trying to control everything. You're trusting the process. You're not trying to predict every outcome. You're learning to navigate life one step at a time. And the Four of Swords reversed shows that you're ready to re-engage with your intuition after a long period of mental exhaustion. You're waking up from survival mode. You're thinking more clearly. You're feeling more present. You're reconnecting with your inner world. And that reconnection is what allows your intuition to come forward. You're no longer shutting down. You're no longer avoiding your feelings. You're no longer numbing yourself. You're ready to listen again. And listening is the foundation of intuition. Not listening to fear. Not listening to pressure. Not listening to other people's expectations. Listening to yourself. Listening to your body. Listening to the quiet signals that tell you when something is right or wrong. Listening to the subtle shifts in your energy. listening to the part of you that knows the truth even when your mind tries to argue with it. You're learning to trust your intuition in small ways, and those small ways will grow into bigger ways. You're learning to trust your first reaction. You're learning to trust your body's signals. You're learning to trust your emotional responses. You're learning to trust the quiet knowing that rises in your chest. You're learning to trust the sense of ease that comes with alignment. You're learning to trust the tension that comes with misalignment. You're learning to trust the part of you that has always known what's right for you. And the more you trust your intuition, the more your life begins to shift. You start making decisions that feel aligned instead of decisions that feel forced. You start choosing relationships that support you instead of relationships that drain you. You start pursuing opportunities that excite you instead of opportunities that pressure you. You start setting boundaries that protect your energy instead of boundaries that keep you small. You start living from a place of truth instead of a place of fear. Trusting your intuition doesn't mean you'll never feel uncertain. It doesn't mean you'll never doubt yourself. It doesn't mean you'll always know exactly what to do. It means you're willing to listen to yourself even when you're unsure. It means you're willing to honor your feelings even when they don't make logical sense. It means you're willing to choose what feels right instead of what looks right. It means you're willing to follow the quiet pull inside you even when it leads you into unfamiliar territory. And that's exactly where you're headed. You're moving into a chapter of your life where intuition becomes your compass. You're moving into a chapter where you trust yourself more deeply than ever before. You're moving into a chapter where you make decisions based on alignment instead of fear. You're moving into a chapter where you no longer abandon yourself. You're moving into a chapter where you lead your life from the inside out. You're moving into a chapter where you trust yourself more deeply than you ever have before, and that shift doesn't happen all at once. It happens in layers. It happens in moments. It happens in the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. It happens when you choose to listen to your inner voice even when it contradicts what other people think. It happens when you choose to honor your feelings even when they're inconvenient. It happens when you choose to walk away from something that drains you even if you can't fully explain why. It happens when you choose to follow the pull inside you even when the path ahead isn't fully clear. And that's the thing about intuition. It doesn't always give you the full picture. It doesn't always tell you the destination. It doesn't always explain itself. Sometimes it only gives you the next step. Sometimes it only gives you a feeling. Sometimes it only gives you a sense of direction. And that can be frustrating when you're used to wanting certainty, when you're used to wanting guarantees, when you're used to wanting to know exactly how things will unfold. But intuition doesn't work like that. Intuition asks you to trust the process. Intuition asks you to trust yourself. Intuition asks you to move even when you don't have all the answers. And that's where your growth is happening right now. You're learning to move without needing everything to be perfect. You're learning to trust without needing every detail. You're learning to listen without needing external confirmation. You're learning to follow your inner voice even when it feels unfamiliar. You're learning to rely on yourself in a way you never have before. The cards show that this shift is not just emotional. It's practical. It's grounded. It's real. The Six of Swords upright shows that you're making actual changes in your life. You're distancing yourself from situations that once overwhelmed you. You're creating space for clarity. You're choosing environments that support your peace. You're letting go of habits that kept you stuck. You're moving toward a version of yourself who feels more stable, more grounded, and more aligned. And the Four of Swords reverse shows that you're ready to re-enter your life with a new mindset. You're not operating from burnout anymore. You're not operating from survival mode. You're not operating from exhaustion. You're operating from awareness. You're operating from clarity. You're operating from a place where your intuition can actually be heard. And that changes everything. One of the most powerful things about intuition is that it becomes stronger the more you act on it. Every time you follow your intuition, you reinforce the belief that you can trust yourself. Every time you listen to your inner voice, you strengthen the connection between your mind and your instincts. Every time you choose alignment over fear, you build confidence in your ability to navigate life. And that confidence becomes the foundation for everything else. You don't need to wait for a big moment to trust your intuition. You can start with small decisions. You can start with noticing how you feel around certain people. You can start with paying attention to what your body tells you. You can start with choosing what feels right instead of what feels expected. You can start with honoring your boundaries. You can start with saying no when something doesn't feel aligned. You can start with saying yes when something feels right, even if it scares you. And the more you do that, the more natural it becomes. Intuition stops feeling like a risk and starts feeling like a guide. It stops feeling like a whisper and starts feeling like a knowing. It stops feeling like something you have to search for and starts feeling like something that rises naturally within you. The Emperor reversed shows that you're rebuilding your inner authority. You're learning to trust your own judgment. You're learning to make decisions from a place of strength instead of fear. You're learning to stand in your own truth even when others don't understand it. You're learning to lead your life instead of letting life lead you. And that shift is one of the most empowering things you'll ever experience. The Queen of Wands reversed shows that your intuition is tied to your confidence, and your confidence is returning. Not in a loud, dramatic way. In a quiet, steady way. In a way that feels grounded. In a way that feels real. In a way that feels like you're finally remembering who you are. You're not trying to be someone else anymore. You're not trying to fit into a version of yourself that doesn't feel true. You're not trying to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You're stepping into your own energy. You're stepping into your own fire. You're stepping into your own truth. And that truth is powerful. That truth is magnetic. That truth is intuitive. When you're connected to your truth, your intuition becomes impossible to ignore. It becomes the voice that guides you. It becomes the compass that directs you. It becomes the foundation you build your life on. The Nine of Swords upright shows that fear has been loud, but fear is not your future. Fear is not your identity. Fear is not your truth. Fear is a reaction to the past, not a prediction of the future. And you're learning to separate fear from intuition. You're learning to recognize when your mind is trying to protect you versus when your intuition is trying to guide you. You're learning to see fear for what it is, a signal, not a sentence. The Ten of Swords reversed shows that you're healing from the experiences that once made fear feel louder than intuition. You're letting go of the pain that once shaped your decisions. You're releasing the memories that once made you doubt yourself. You're stepping into a version of yourself who is not defined by what happened to you, but by how you rise from it. And you are rising. The Six of Swords upright shows that you're moving into a calmer, clearer mental space where intuition can thrive. You're leaving behind the chaos that once clouded your judgment. You're choosing clarity. You're choosing peace. You're choosing yourself. And that choice is opening the door to intuitive clarity. The Four of Swords reversed shows that you're ready. You're ready to listen. You're ready to trust. You're ready to move forward. You're ready to step into a version of yourself who doesn't second-guess everything. You're ready to live from your inner truth instead of your inner fear. And that's the real message of this reading. You're not being asked to become someone new. You're being asked to return to yourself. You're being asked to trust the voice that has always been there. You're being asked to stop abandoning yourself. You're being asked to stop doubting yourself. You're being asked to stop giving your power away. You're being asked to step into your own authority. You're being asked to trust your intuition because your intuition has never stopped guiding you. And as you step into this new chapter, something important begins to happen. You start to realize that intuition isn't some mysterious gift that only certain people have. It's not something you have to earn. It's not something you have to chase. It's something that has always been inside you, waiting for you to stop doubting it, waiting for you to stop silencing it, waiting for you to stop assuming that everyone else knows better than you, waiting for you to stop abandoning yourself in moments when you needed your own guidance the most. You start to realize that intuition is simply the part of you that has been paying attention all along. It's the part of you that notices patterns before your mind connects the dots. It's the part of you that senses when something is off even when you can't explain why. It's the part of you that feels drawn to certain people or opportunities because something in your energy recognizes alignment before your logic does. It's the part of you that knows when you're betraying yourself. It's the part of you that knows when you're settling. It's the part of you that knows when you're meant to move on. It's the part of you that knows when something is meant for you even if it doesn't make sense yet. And the more you listen to that part of yourself, the more your life begins to shift in ways that feel natural instead of forced. You stop chasing things that aren't aligned. You stop holding on to situations that drain you. You stop trying to convince yourself that something feels right when it clearly doesn't. You stop ignoring the discomfort that shows up when you're out of alignment. You stop overriding your instincts to please others. You stop silencing your truth to avoid conflict. You stop abandoning yourself to maintain peace that isn't real. Instead, you start choosing what feels true. You start choosing what feels aligned. You start choosing what feels like you. You start choosing the path that feels right even if it's unfamiliar. You start choosing the relationships that support your growth. You start choosing the opportunities that excite you. You start choosing the boundaries that protect your energy. You start choosing the version of yourself who trusts their own voice. And that's where the real transformation happens. Not in the big moments, but in the small ones. In the moment you say no to something that doesn't feel right. In the moment you say yes to something that scares you in a good way. In the moment you walk away from something that drains you. In the moment you choose rest instead of pushing yourself past your limits. In the moment you speak up instead of staying silent. In the moment you honor your feelings instead of dismissing them. In the moment you trust your instincts even when you can't justify them logically. Those moments build on each other. They accumulate. They create momentum. They create a new pattern. They create a new version of you. A version who doesn't need to overthink everything. A version who doesn't need to seek permission. A version who doesn't need to justify their intuition. A version who doesn't need to apologize for knowing what they know. A version who doesn't need to shrink to make others comfortable. A version who doesn't need to live in fear of making the wrong choice. Because here's the truth. Trusting your intuition doesn't guarantee that everything will be perfect. It doesn't guarantee that you'll never face challenges. It doesn't guarantee that every decision will lead to an easy outcome. But it does guarantee that you'll be living in alignment with yourself. It guarantees that you'll be making choices that honor your truth. It guarantees that you'll be moving in the direction that feels right for you. It guarantees that you'll be living a life that reflects who you are instead of who you've been told to be. And that kind of alignment creates a different kind of life. A life where you feel grounded instead of scattered. A life where you feel connected instead of disconnected. A life where you feel confident instead of uncertain. A life where you feel present instead of overwhelmed. A life where you feel like you're actually living instead of just surviving. The cards show that you're ready for that life. The Four of Swords reversed shows that you're waking up from a long period of exhaustion. The Six of Swords shows that you're moving into clarity. The Ten of Swords reversed shows that you're healing. The Queen of Wands reversed shows that your confidence is returning. The Emperor reversed shows that you're reclaiming your authority. The Nine of Swords shows that you're aware of your fears, which means you're no longer controlled by them. You're stepping into a version of yourself who trusts their intuition not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. You're stepping into a version of yourself who listens to their inner voice not because it's loud, but because it's true. You're stepping into a version of yourself who makes decisions from a place of alignment instead of fear. You're stepping into a version of yourself who leads their life from the inside out. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to force any of this. You don't have to rush. You don't have to pressure yourself. You don't have to get it right every time. You just have to keep listening. You just have to keep noticing. You just have to keep choosing what feels true. You just have to keep honoring your inner voice. You just have to keep trusting yourself one moment at a time. Because intuition isn't a destination. It's a relationship. It's a relationship with yourself. And like any relationship, it grows through consistency, honesty, and presence. It grows when you show up for yourself. It grows when you listen to yourself. It grows when you honor yourself. It grows when you stop abandoning yourself. And you're ready for that. You're ready to trust yourself again. You're ready to listen to your intuition. You're ready to step into your power. You're ready to live a life that feels aligned, grounded, and true. You're ready to move forward with clarity. You're ready to choose yourself. You're ready to trust the part of you that has always known the way. When I sit with the energy of Group 2 and the cards you pulled, The very first thing that comes through is this gentle sense that you've been trying so hard to hear yourself again. It feels like you've been moving through a period where your intuition hasn't felt as loud or as reliable as it used to be, and maybe you've even wondered whether you somehow lost your connection to it. But the truth is, you haven't lost anything. What's happening is that you're entering a new phase of intuitive awareness, one that is quieter, deeper, and more grounded than what you've known before. And because it feels different, it has made you question whether it's still there. This reading is here to help you understand that your intuition is not fading. It's evolving. And you are learning how to trust it in a way that feels safer, clearer, and more aligned with who you are becoming. The Seven of Cups reversed is the first card in your spread, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. This card shows that you've been coming out of a fog, a period where things felt confusing, overwhelming, or emotionally scattered. You may have had moments where you didn't know what to choose, what to believe, or what direction to take. And when you're in that kind of mental or emotional haze, intuition becomes harder to hear because everything feels like noise. But the reverse Seven of Cups shows that you're beginning to see through the illusions that once clouded your judgment. You're starting to recognize what is real, what matters, and what aligns with your truth. This clarity is the first step in rebuilding trust with your intuition. You're no longer being pulled in 100 different directions. You're beginning to focus, to ground, and to listen more intentionally. What's interesting is that this clarity didn't come from forcing yourself to figure everything out. It came from slowing down, from stepping back, from allowing yourself to breathe. It came from moments where you finally said, I can't keep trying to make sense of everything at once. And in that surrender, your intuition began to rise again. The reverse Seven of Cups shows that you're learning to separate your true inner voice from the voices of fear, fantasy, or external influence. You're learning to recognize the difference between a thought that comes from anxiety and a thought that comes from inner knowing. And that is one of the most important skills you can develop when learning to trust your intuition. Then we move into the Devil reversed. And this card is such a powerful confirmation that you are breaking free from the things that once distorted your intuition. The Devil reversed is liberation. It's the moment where you begin to see the chains you didn't realize you were carrying. These chains can be anything. Old beliefs that told you not to trust yourself, relationships where your intuition was dismissed or mocked, habits that numbed your inner voice, or fears that made you second-guess every decision you made. The Devil reversed shows that you are unlearning these patterns. You are releasing the influences that once made you doubt your instincts. You are stepping out of the mental and emotional cages that kept you disconnected from your inner truth. This card also suggests that you've been doing a lot of inner work, whether consciously or not. You've been questioning the stories you were taught about yourself. You've been noticing the moments where you shrink, where you silence yourself, where you override your own feelings. And you've been slowly, gently choosing differently. You've been choosing honesty over avoidance, clarity over confusion, and self-trust over self-doubt. The Devil reversed shows that you are reclaiming your power, and with that power comes a deeper connection to your intuition. Because intuition cannot thrive in an environment of fear or self-criticism. It needs space. It needs softness. It needs trust. And you are finally giving yourself that. Then we arrive at the Magician upright, and this is where your reading begins to open into something truly beautiful. The Magician is the card of personal power, manifestation, and conscious creation. It represents the moment where you realize that everything you need is already within you. And when it comes to intuition, the Magician reminds you that your inner knowing is not something separate from your abilities. It is part of your power. It is one of the tools you were born with. The Magician upright shows that you are entering a phase where your intuition will feel more natural, more accessible, and more integrated into your daily life. You won't have to reach for it. You won't have to force it. It will simply be there, guiding you in subtle, steady ways. What's important about the Magician is that it teaches you that intuition is not just a feeling. It's a form of intelligence. It's a way of processing the world. It's a way of understanding yourself. And you are learning how to use it consciously. You're learning how to listen to the quiet nudges, the sudden insights, the moments of clarity that seem to appear out of nowhere. You're learning how to trust the ideas that come to you when you're not trying to think. You're learning how to recognize the difference between a thought that is rooted in fear and a thought that is rooted in truth. The Magician shows that your intuition is becoming a tool you can rely on, not just in spiritual moments, but in everyday decisions, in relationships, in opportunities, and in the way you navigate your path. The Page of Swords upright adds another layer to this story. This card is curious, observant, and mentally sharp. It shows that you are becoming more aware of your inner world. You're paying attention to the patterns, the signs, the synchronicities, and the subtle shifts in your energy. You're noticing the moments where something feels off, even if you can't explain why. You're noticing the moments where something feels right, even if it doesn't make logical sense. The Page of Swords is the student of intuition, the part of you that is learning how to interpret the messages you receive. This card shows that you are becoming more discerning, more thoughtful, and more willing to explore your inner landscape. What's beautiful about the Page of Swords is that it encourages you to stay curious. Intuition is not something you master overnight. It's something you learn to understand through experience, through reflection, through trial and error. And the Page of Swords shows that you are open to this process. You're not expecting perfection. You're not expecting your intuition to be loud or dramatic. You're learning to appreciate the subtlety of it. You're learning to recognize the quiet voice beneath the noise. You're learning to trust the gentle pull in a certain direction. You're learning to honor the thoughts that feel like truth, even when they don't come with explanations. Then we move into the Five of Pentacles upright, and this card reveals something tender about your journey. The Five of Pentacles often represents feelings of abandonment, isolation, or being left out in the cold. And when it comes to intuition, this card suggests that there have been times in your life where you felt unsupported or disconnected from your inner guidance. You may have felt like your intuition led you into difficult situations, or that trusting yourself resulted in pain or disappointment. You may have felt like your inner voice went silent when you needed it most. The Five of Pentacles shows that you've experienced moments where you felt spiritually or emotionally alone, and those moments made it harder to trust your intuition. But this card also carries a message of hope. It reminds you that even in your lowest moments, your intuition never abandoned you. It was simply harder to hear because you were overwhelmed, exhausted, or in survival mode. When you're struggling, your nervous system becomes louder than your intuition. Your fears become louder than your inner knowing. Your need for safety becomes louder than your desire for clarity. And that is not a failure. It is a human response. The Five of Pentacles shows that your intuition is not something fragile that disappears when life becomes difficult. It is something resilient, something that remains with you even when you cannot feel it. And now, as you move into a more grounded phase of your life, your intuition is becoming easier to access again. Finally, the Wheel of Fortune reversed brings this entire story into perspective. This card shows that you've been through cycles of uncertainty, delays, and unexpected changes. You may have felt like life was happening to you rather than with you. You may have felt stuck, unlucky, or out of sync with your path. And when life feels unpredictable, it becomes harder to trust your intuition because you start to question whether your inner voice is leading you in the right direction. The Wheel of Fortune reversed shows that you've been in a period where things felt out of your control, and that made it difficult to trust yourself. But this card also shows that this cycle is shifting. You are learning to trust your intuition not because everything is going smoothly, but because you are realizing that your inner voice is the one constant you can rely on even when the external world feels chaotic. When we look at all these cards together, what becomes clear is that your journey toward trusting your intuition has not been straightforward. It has been shaped by confusion, by fear, by moments of clarity, by moments of doubt, by emotional highs and lows, and by experiences that made you question whether you could rely on yourself. And yet, through all of that, your intuition has remained steady beneath the surface, waiting for you to return to it. This reading is not here to tell you that you need to become someone new in order to trust your intuition. It's here to remind you that the version of you who already exists is capable, intuitive, and deeply connected to your inner truth. You are not learning intuition from scratch. You are remembering it. One of the most important things to understand about intuition is that it does not always speak loudly. It does not always come with certainty. It does not always feel like a dramatic revelation. More often, intuition is quiet. It is subtle. It is gentle. It is the feeling that something is slightly off, even if you can't explain why. It is the sense of peace you feel when something is right for you, even if it doesn't make logical sense. It is the way your body reacts before your mind has time to analyze. And because intuition is so subtle, it can be easy to overlook, especially when you're stressed, overwhelmed, or trying too hard to figure everything out. The cards in your reading show that you are learning to recognize these subtle signals again. You are learning to listen to the quiet voice beneath the noise. The Seven of Cups reversed shows that you are clearing away the mental clutter that once made it difficult to hear your intuition. You are becoming more grounded, more focused, and more aware of what truly matters to you. This clarity is essential because intuition cannot be heard when your mind is filled with too many possibilities, too many fears, or too many conflicting desires. You are learning to simplify your inner world, to let go of the distractions that once pulled you away from yourself. And as you do, your intuition becomes easier to recognize. The Devil reverse shows that you are releasing the beliefs and patterns that once made you doubt your intuition. You are letting go of the voices that told you that you were wrong, that you were too sensitive, or that your instincts were unreliable. You are breaking free from the influences that once distorted your inner voice. This liberation is not just emotional. It is spiritual. It is the moment where you begin to trust that your intuition is not something dangerous or misleading. It is something that has always been trying to protect you, guide you, and support you. The Magician upright shows that your intuition is becoming a conscious tool in your life. You are learning how to use it intentionally, how to recognize it when it speaks, and how to act on it with confidence. You are learning that intuition is not separate from your power. It is part of it. It is one of the ways you create your reality. When you trust your intuition, you align yourself with your purpose, your desires, and your natural abilities. You begin to make decisions that feel right, not because they are logical, but because they resonate with your inner truth. The Page of Swords upright shows that you are becoming more curious about your intuition. You are observing your thoughts, your feelings, and your reactions with more awareness. You are noticing the moments where your intuition speaks, even if you don't fully understand it yet. You are learning to ask yourself gentle questions, to explore your inner world, and to pay attention to the subtle signals that arise within you. This curiosity is what helps you develop a deeper relationship with your intuition. It is what allows you to recognize the difference between fear and inner knowing. The Five of Pentacles upright shows that your intuition has been shaped by your experiences of hardship. You have learned to survive, to adapt, and to keep going even when you felt alone. These experiences have made your intuition stronger, not weaker. They have taught you to listen to the quiet voice within you even when everything around you feels uncertain. They have taught you that your intuition is not something that disappears when life becomes difficult. It is something that remains with you, even when you cannot feel it. The Wheel of Fortune reversed shows that you are learning to trust your intuition even when life feels unpredictable. You are realizing that your inner voice is not meant to control the external world. It is meant to guide you through it. You are learning to trust that even when things do not go according to plan, your intuition is still leading you toward growth, healing, and alignment. You are learning to trust that your intuition is not dependent on circumstances. It is something that exists within you, regardless of what is happening around you. Now, let's go deeper into what it actually means to trust your intuition. Trusting your intuition is not about always knowing the right answer. It is not about being perfect. It is not about predicting the future. Trusting your intuition is about learning to listen to yourself. It is about learning to recognize the signals your body gives you. It is about learning to honor your feelings, your instincts, and your inner truth. It is about learning to act on what feels right, even when you cannot explain why. It is about learning to trust that your inner voice is guiding you toward what is best for you. One of the biggest challenges people face when learning to trust their intuition is the fear of being wrong. You may have moments where you feel something strongly, but you hesitate because you're afraid of making a mistake. You may have moments where your intuition tells you to walk away from something, but you stay because you don't want to disappoint anyone. You may have moments where your intuition tells you to take a risk, but you hold back because you're afraid of the unknown. These fears are natural. They are part of being human. But they are also the very things that block your intuition. The cards in your reading show that you are learning to move through these fears with compassion. You are learning to trust that even if your intuition leads you into something challenging, it is still guiding you toward growth. You are learning to trust that your intuition is not here to hurt you. It is here to protect you. It is here to guide you. It is here to help you become the version of yourself you are meant to be. Another challenge people face when learning to trust their intuition is the tendency to overthink. You may receive an intuitive nudge, but then your mind immediately begins analyzing, questioning, and doubting. You may talk yourself out of what you feel. You may convince yourself that you're imagining things. You may try to rationalize your way into or out of a decision. Overthinking is one of the biggest obstacles to intuition because intuition does not speak in logic. It speaks in feeling. It speaks in sensation. It speaks in quiet certainty. The Page of Swords upright shows that you are learning to recognize when you are overthinking. You are learning to notice the difference between a thought that comes from fear and a thought that comes from truth. You are learning to pause, to breathe, and to listen to your body. You are learning to ask yourself gentle questions like, what feels right? What feels peaceful? What feels aligned? These questions help you move out of your mind and into your intuition. Another important aspect of trusting your intuition is learning to recognize how your intuition speaks to you personally. Intuition does not look the same for everyone. For some people, it comes as a physical sensation. For others, it comes as a thought, a feeling, a dream, or a sudden insight. Your intuition may speak to you through your emotions, through your creativity, through your body, or through the way you react to certain situations. The Magician upright shows that you are learning to recognize your unique intuitive language. You are learning to understand how your intuition communicates with you. You are learning to trust the signals that feel natural to you. One of the most beautiful things about intuition is that it grows with you. It evolves as you evolve. It becomes clearer as you become clearer. And the cards in your reading show that you are entering a phase where your intuition is becoming more grounded, more stable, and more integrated into your everyday life. This is not the kind of intuition that feels overwhelming or dramatic. It is the kind of intuition that feels gentle, steady, and trustworthy. It is the kind of intuition that guides you quietly, like a soft hand on your shoulder, reminding you that you are not alone and that you always have access to inner wisdom. To trust your intuition, you must first learn to trust yourself. And that is something you have been working on, even if you haven't realized it. The Devil reversed shows that you have been releasing the beliefs and patterns that once made you doubt yourself. You have been letting go of the voices that told you that you were wrong, that you were too emotional, or that your instincts were unreliable. You have been unlearning the idea that you need external validation in order to make decisions. You have been reclaiming your inner authority. And as you do, your intuition becomes easier to hear because you are no longer filtering it through layers of self-doubt. Trusting yourself also means learning to honor your feelings. Your emotions are not separate from your intuition. They are part of it. They are signals, messages, and indicators of what is aligned and what is not. When something feels heavy, draining, or uncomfortable, that is your intuition speaking through your emotions. When something feels peaceful, expansive, or quietly exciting, that is also your intuition speaking. The Seven of Cups reverse shows that you are learning to recognize which emotions come from truth and which come from fear. You are learning to listen to your body, to notice how it reacts to certain people, situations, or decisions. You are learning to trust the sensations that arise within you, even when you cannot explain them logically. Another important aspect of trusting your intuition is learning to slow down. Intuition does not thrive in chaos. It does not thrive when you are rushing, overthinking, or trying to force clarity. It thrives in stillness. It thrives in moments where you allow yourself to breathe, to pause, to listen. The Wheel of Fortune reversed shows that you have been through a period where life felt unpredictable, where things were moving too quickly or not moving at all. And during that time, your intuition may have felt harder to access because you were overwhelmed by external circumstances. But now, you're entering a phase where you are learning to create space for yourself. You are learning to slow down enough to hear the quiet voice within you. You are learning to trust that clarity will come when you stop trying to force it. The Page of Swords upright shows that you are becoming more observant of your inner world. You are noticing the thoughts that feel like intuition and the thoughts that feel like fear. You are noticing the moments where your intuition speaks before your mind has time to analyze. You are noticing the subtle shifts in your energy when something is aligned or misaligned. This awareness is essential because intuition often speaks in small ways. It speaks through the way your stomach tightens when something feels wrong. It speaks through the way your chest relaxes when something feels right. It speaks through the way your mind becomes quiet when you are on the right path. You are learning to recognize these signals, and that is what allows you to trust your intuition more deeply. The Five of Pentacles upright shows that part of your difficulty in trusting your intuition comes from past experiences where you felt unsupported or alone. You may have trusted your intuition in the past and ended up hurt. You may have followed your inner voice and found yourself in a difficult situation. You may have felt abandoned by your intuition during moments when you needed it most. These experiences can create emotional scars that make it harder to trust yourself. But the Five of Pentacles also shows that these experiences have made you stronger. They have taught you resilience. They have taught you how to navigate uncertainty. They have taught you how to listen to yourself even when everything around you feels unstable. Your intuition did not fail you. It guided you through experiences that shaped you into someone wiser, more grounded, and more capable of recognizing what is truly aligned for you. Trusting your intuition also means learning to accept that you will not always have all the answers. Intuition does not always give you the full picture. Sometimes it gives you only the next step. Sometimes it gives you only a feeling. Sometimes it gives you only a sense of direction. And that can be uncomfortable, especially if you're someone who likes clarity, certainty, or detailed plans. But the Magician upright shows that you are learning to trust the process. You are learning to trust that you do not need to know everything in order to move forward. You are learning to trust that your intuition will guide you step by step, moment by moment, as long as you are willing to listen. Another important part of trusting your intuition is learning to act on it. Intuition becomes stronger when you use it. When you ignore it, it becomes quieter. When you honor it, it becomes louder. The Magician upright shows that you are entering a phase where you are learning to act on your intuitive nudges, even when they don't make logical sense. You are learning to trust the ideas that come to you unexpectedly. You are learning to follow the gentle pull towards something new. You are learning to walk away from things that no longer feel aligned. You are learning to make decisions based on what feels true, not just what looks practical. Acting on your intuition does not mean making impulsive decisions. It means making aligned decisions. It means listening to the part of you that knows what is right for you, even when your mind tries to talk you out of it. It means trusting that your intuition is guiding you towards something meaningful, even if you cannot see the full path yet. The Page of Swords upright shows that you are becoming more confident in your ability to interpret your intuitive signals. You are learning to trust the thoughts that feel like truth. You are learning to trust the ideas that feel inspired. You are learning to trust the feelings that arise within you, even when they are subtle. Another key aspect of trusting your intuition is learning to differentiate between intuition and fear. Fear is loud, urgent, and overwhelming. It demands immediate action. It creates tension in your body. It makes you feel small, restricted, or panicked. Intuition, on the other hand, is quiet, steady, and grounded. It does not demand. It does not pressure. It does not create panic. It creates clarity. It creates peace. It creates a sense of knowing. The Seven of Cups reversed shows that you are learning to recognize this difference. You are learning to notice when your mind is reacting out of fear and when your intuition is speaking from truth. You are learning to trust the voice that feels calm, even when it is quiet. The Devil reverse shows that you are releasing the fears that once controlled your decisions. You are letting go of the belief that you need to be perfect in order to trust yourself. You are letting go of the fear of making mistakes. You are letting go of the fear of disappointing others. You are learning to trust that your intuition is guiding you toward what is best for you, not what is easiest or most comfortable. You are learning to trust that your intuition is not here to lead you into danger. It is here to lead you into alignment. Another important part of trusting your intuition is learning to create space for it. Intuition needs room to breathe. It needs quiet moments. It needs stillness. It needs presence. When your mind is filled with noise, your intuition becomes harder to hear. When you are constantly distracted, your intuition becomes drowned out. When you are overwhelmed, your intuition becomes buried beneath stress. The Wheel of Fortune reverse shows that you are learning to slow down, to create space for yourself, to allow your intuition to rise naturally. You are learning to trust that clarity will come when you stop trying to force it. Another essential part of trusting your intuition is learning to build a relationship with it. Intuition is not a tool you use once in a while. It is a relationship you cultivate over time. It grows stronger the more you listen to it, the more you honor it, and the more you act on it. Just like any relationship, it requires attention, patience, and consistency. The Magician upright shows that you are entering a phase where you are learning to work with your intuition intentionally. You are learning to check in with yourself before making decisions. You are learning to ask yourself what feels right, not just what looks right. You are learning to trust the subtle signals that arise within you. This relationship will become one of the most important connections in your life because it will guide you through every chapter, every challenge, and every opportunity. Trusting your intuition also means learning to forgive yourself for the times you didn't listen. You may look back on certain moments and think, I knew better. I felt it. I sensed it. Why didn't I trust myself? These moments can create guilt or regret, and they can make you hesitant to trust your intuition again. But the Five of Pentacles upright shows that these moments were part of your learning. They were not failures. They were lessons. They taught you how your intuition speaks. They taught you what it feels like when you ignore it. They taught you how to recognize the difference between inner knowing and wishful thinking. They taught you how to trust yourself more deeply. Forgiving yourself for these moments is essential because intuition cannot grow in an environment of self-blame. It grows in an environment of compassion. Another important aspect of trusting your intuition is learning to recognize when it is being overshadowed by external influences. Sometimes, the opinions of others can drown out your inner voice. Sometimes, the expectations of society can make you doubt your instincts. Sometimes, the desire to please others can make you ignore what feels true for you. The Devil reverse shows that you are breaking free from these influences. You are learning to trust your own voice more than the voices around you. You are learning to recognize when someone else's opinion is clouding your judgment. You are learning to choose your truth over external pressure. This is one of the most powerful steps you can take in your intuitive journey because intuition thrives when you honor your own perspective. Trusting your intuition also means learning to recognize when something feels aligned. Alignment is not always logical. It is not always convenient. It is not always easy. But it feels right. It feels peaceful. It feels like your whole body is saying yes. The Seven of Cups reverse shows that you are learning to recognize this feeling. You are learning to notice when something resonates with your inner truth. You are learning to trust the quiet sense of clarity that arises when you are on the right path. You are learning to follow the things that feel aligned, even when they don't make sense to anyone else. Another key aspect of trusting your intuition is learning to recognize when something feels misaligned. Misalignment often shows up as discomfort, tension, or unease. It shows up as a feeling that something is off, even if you cannot explain why. It shows up as resistance, heaviness, or emotional fatigue. The Page of Swords upright shows that you are becoming more aware of these signals. You are learning to trust the moments where your body reacts before your mind has time to analyze. You are learning to trust the moments where something feels wrong, even if it looks right on paper. You are learning to trust the moments where your intuition whispers no, even when your mind tries to rationalize a yes. Trusting your intuition also means learning to accept that it will sometimes guide you away from things you wanted. This can be one of the hardest parts of intuitive growth. Sometimes, your intuition will tell you that something is not right for you, even if you hoped it would be. Sometimes, your intuition will guide you away from a relationship, an opportunity, or a path that you were emotionally attached to. The Wheel of Fortune reversed shows that you have experienced moments where your intuition guided you away from something familiar, and it may have felt like a loss. But these moments were not punishments. They were redirections. They were your intuition protecting you from something that would have limited your growth. They were your intuition guiding you towards something better, even if you could not see it at the time. Another important part of trusting your intuition is learning to recognize the difference between intuition and desire. Desire is powerful. It can create strong emotions, strong attachments, and strong expectations. But desire is not always aligned with your highest path. Intuition, on the other hand, is always aligned with your highest path. It is always guiding you toward what is best for you, even when it does not match what you want in the moment. The Seven of Cups reversed shows that you are learning to separate your desires from your intuition. You are learning to recognize when something feels good because you want it and when something feels right because it is aligned. This distinction is essential because it allows you to make decisions that honor your truth rather than your temporary emotions. Trusting your intuition also means learning to recognize the difference between intuition and anxiety. Anxiety is loud, chaotic, and overwhelming. It creates urgency. It creates fear. It creates confusion. Intuition is quiet, steady, and grounded. It creates clarity. It creates peace. It creates a sense of knowing. The Page of Swords upright shows that you are learning to recognize this difference. You are learning to notice when your mind is reacting out of fear and when your intuition is speaking from truth. You are learning to trust the voice that feels calm, even when it is quiet. You are learning to trust the voice that feels grounded, even when it does not come with explanations. Another essential part of trusting your intuition is learning to honor your boundaries. Intuition often speaks through boundaries. It tells you when something is too much. It tells you when someone is crossing a line. It tells you when you need space, rest, or distance. The Devil reversed shows that you are learning to honor these boundaries. You are learning to trust the moments where your intuition tells you to step back. You are learning to trust the moments where your intuition tells you to protect your energy. You are learning to trust the moments where your intuition tells you that something is not healthy for you. Honoring your boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to strengthen your intuition because it shows your inner voice that you are willing to listen. Trusting your intuition also means learning to recognize when it is guiding you towards something new. Intuition often speaks through inspiration. It speaks through curiosity. It speaks through the gentle pull towards something unfamiliar. The Magician upright shows that you are entering a phase where your intuition will guide you toward new opportunities, new experiences, and new paths. These opportunities may not always make logical sense. They may require you to step outside your comfort zone. They may require you to trust yourself in ways you never have before. But they will feel aligned. They will feel meaningful. They will feel like the next step in your journey. Another important part of trusting your intuition is learning to recognize when it is guiding you to let go. Letting go is not always easy. It can feel painful, confusing, or uncertain. But intuition often guides you to release the things that are no longer aligned with your growth. The Five of Pentacles upright shows that you have experienced moments where letting go felt like loss. But these moments were not endings. They were transitions. They were the moments where your intuition guided you away from what was limiting you and toward what would expand you. You are learning to trust that letting go is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of alignment. Trusting your intuition also means learning to recognize when it is guiding you toward healing. Intuition often speaks through discomfort, not because it wants you to suffer, but because it wants you to grow. It shows you the places where you are holding pain. It shows you the places where you are carrying fear. It shows you the places where you are still attached to old stories. The Wheel of Fortune reverse shows that you have been moving through a cycle of healing, and your intuition has been guiding you through it. You are learning to trust that healing is not a setback. It is a transformation. It is the process of becoming more aligned with your true self. Another essential part of trusting your intuition is learning to recognize when it is guiding you toward connection. Intuition often speaks through resonance. It tells you when someone feels safe. It tells you when someone feels familiar. It tells you when someone feels aligned with your path. The Page of Swords upright shows that you are becoming more aware of these intuitive connections. You are learning to trust the moments where you feel drawn to someone for reasons you cannot explain. You are learning to trust the moments where your intuition tells you that someone is meant to be part of your journey. These connections will become more frequent as you continue to trust your inner voice. Trusting your intuition also means learning to recognize when it is guiding you toward your purpose. Purpose is not always a single path. It is a feeling. It is the sense that you are doing something meaningful, something aligned, something that resonates with your soul. The Magician upright shows that you are entering a phase where your intuition will guide you toward your purpose in subtle, steady ways. You may feel drawn to certain ideas, certain opportunities, or certain creative expressions. You may feel inspired to explore new paths. You may feel a quiet sense of excitement about something you cannot fully explain. These are signs that your intuition is guiding you toward your purpose. Another important part of trusting your intuition is learning to recognize when it is guiding you toward rest. Intuition does not only speak through action. It also speaks through stillness. It tells you when you need to slow down. It tells you when you need to recharge. It tells you when you need to step back and breathe. The Five of Pentacles upright shows that you have experienced moments where you pushed yourself too hard and your intuition tried to guide you toward rest. You are learning to trust these signals. You are learning to honor your need for rest, not as a weakness, but as a form of self-care. Trusting your intuition also means learning to recognize when it is guiding you toward joy. Intuition often speaks through joy. It tells you when something feels good for your soul. It tells you when something lights you up. It tells you when something feels meaningful, even if it is small. The Seven of Cups reverse shows that you are learning to recognize the difference between temporary pleasure and true joy. You are learning to trust the things that bring you genuine happiness. You are learning to follow the things that make you feel alive. As you move forward, your intuition will continue to grow stronger. It will become easier to hear. It will become easier to trust. It will become easier to act on. You will begin to notice that your intuition is not something separate from you. It is part of who you are. It is the quiet voice that has been guiding you all along. It is the inner compass that has been trying to lead you toward your highest path. And now, you are finally ready to listen. Your reading shows that you are entering a new chapter of your life, one where you trust yourself more deeply, where you listen to your inner voice more clearly, and where you allow your intuition to guide you with confidence and clarity. You are stepping into your power. You are reclaiming your inner authority. You are learning to trust the wisdom that has always been within you. And as you do, your life will begin to shift in ways that feel aligned, purposeful, and deeply fulfilling. You will begin to attract opportunities, relationships, and experiences that resonate with your true self. You will begin to feel more connected to your path, more confident in your decisions, and more at peace with the unknown. Your intuition is not just a feeling. It is a relationship. And this reading shows that you are finally ready to nurture that relationship, to trust it, and to allow it to guide you toward the life you are meant to live. You are stepping into a version of yourself who is clear, empowered, intuitive, and aligned. And this is only the beginning.